Last time, we took the fast food example where we said, okay, maybe there's 3 types of restaurants: Chinese, Italian, and what else? American. And then what we did was we were able to group them by using the keyword group by, which is this one. And then we can aggregate the row and get an important statistic like the sum of all the revenue from that type of restaurant, right? So what if you want to filter your aggregated results? So how we would do that is by using the keyword having. Now, let's pretend you don't know the keyword having for now. So you might say, why can't we just use the where clause? Why can't we just say where the sum of revenue is bigger than 1 million? Like, let's assume that we want to only get the type of restaurants that if you sum up all the revenue from all the restaurants that are the same type, it's over $1 million. Why can't we use the where clause? Because the where clause, it won't work for this because it doesn't allow you to filter on aggregated columns. It filters on the row level, so only specific rows. So the only scope that it has is on a single row. Hence, having this new keyword is the way to filter a query that has been aggregated, right? So it's very similar to where, but instead of filtering through the individual rows, it will filter the aggregated rows that have happened already. As you can see here, I am filtering by the type of restaurants that total, if you sum up all the revenue of all the restaurants, it will be above $1 million. Let's look at an example. So for this exercise, we will be using this table, which is the SF crime incidents. Let's just look at it. As you can see, we get categories, description, day of week, time, PD district, etc., etc. So the question is, for each category of crimes, count how many incidents there are. Okay, seems pretty easy. So you just use category, and then we learned that last time. We write count to count how many rows there are because each row is an incident, and then you group by category. All right, excellent. As you can see, there are a bunch of categories here and how many incidents there are. All right, so what's the next question? What are the categories that have less than 10 cases? As you can see, just with your eyes, you can kind of see that there are categories that are below 10 in terms of count. So what would you do? Then we can use the thing we learned, which is having. So having what? Having count of 10. Oh, sorry, having count smaller than 10. So then this time we run this again. Oopsies, let's see, having count star 10. Oh, I forgot. Group by should be before, which makes sense because you cannot filter on the aggregated level before actually aggregating them. So let's run this again. All right, so as you can see, there are 7 categories that have fewer than 10 incidents. So that's extortion, gambling, stolen property, bribery, bad checks, sex offenses, non-forcible, and loitering. Aha. So, yep, that's the application of using having. All right, so for the last question, let's use the table. This is about the investor name. Aha, so it must be this one. Let's just see what this table looks like. So if you don't know what Crunchbase is, it's a website that records all of the venture capitalist investments in startups. So whenever they fund a startup, you will see it in here. So the question is, list all the investor name and how many times they funded a company that are from USA that have invested at least $2 billion. Order them by the number of investments made. Wow, that's a long ass question. Let me press space here so you can see the whole query. So first, what do we need? We want the investor name. Okay, let's look at investor name. Aha, so we got it. Investor name is pretty important. Investor name. Let's just keep this for now. And then what we want is we want them to be from USA. So is that going to be having or where? It's going to be where, because this is a row level filter. Where, oops, that's not it. We don't care about company. We care about the investor. Aha, investor country code, where investor country code equals USA. All right, what else do we need? we want to know how many times they funded a company. And then, but they have to have at least invested at least $2 billion. Okay. How do we know how much they've invested? There is there it is, raised amount. Raised amount means how much the investor invested in the startup. So we can just add all of that. So what we can do is we can group by one, which is the investor name, and then we only want the investors who invested at least $2 billion. That's a lot of money, but okay. So then we have having sum of the raised amount. Okay, let's press space here so you can see it. Group by, and then having sum of raised amount larger than $2 billion. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Is that enough? Is that enough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, perfect. All right, so we have that. Let's just run it, see what happens. Oh, it's probably not going to work because I have a star here. So let's do two things. Let's count, which means as number of investments. And then also let's just sum the raised amount just to see if our query works as fund size, number dollar invested. Okay, so now we have this query, we run it. Let's see how many funds we have. So as you can see, there are only 68 investors that have invested more than $2 billion. Okay, cool. Some people only, Bright House only has 2 investments, but they've invested $4 billion. That's crazy. Wait, I'm a little bit curious now. Bright House. Yeah, so as you can see, number of investment 2, which is the same as the data, which is pretty interesting because I didn't know this data was actually up to date, but nice that it is. Seems like they only invested in Clearwire twice. Whew, that's a lot of money raised. Okay, and then what else do we have to do? We actually had to order them by the number of investment made. So order by, and what's the number of investment is the count of rows, count. And then what do we want? Descending or ascending? We want descending. Or at least that's what I wanted. So let's see, Sequoia Capital. So Sequoia Capital invested about $8 billion, 553 investments. Wow, that's a lot. All right, so that's pretty interesting. Pretty curious though. I wonder how correct this is. Let's search for Sequoia Capital, how much invested. $8 billion, okay, that's pretty accurate. So yeah, that makes sense. January 10th, 2020, $8 billion fund. And then in the SQL query, we found that, yeah, it's indeed $8 billion. Yep, that's pretty cool. All right, so that's pretty much it for the keyword having, and I'll see you next time.